Yankuba Dabo, the Commissioner General of the Gambia Revenue Authority, GRA, but as I said earlier, he's not alone on the program this time. He's with his deputy and close aide, Essa Jallo. So, Essa, your expertise is in the area of income tax. How much is income tax contributing to the overall, collection of the GRA periodically, monthly, so on and so forth? Let's see whether you can also go, follow the procedure that CG did as he took us through, the last quarter.
Thank you very much, Peter. Maybe before I delve into that, let me also do a very small contribution to what the contribution that my boss has already given in terms of the trajectory of the reforms and also the revenues.
Yes.
Just to say that, in summary, that you could see that a lot of the revenues that we continue to generate are a result of conscious reforms that we have undertaken over a period of time, and also guided by plans, because everything that he has discussed here, we have captured in our strategic plan.
Okay.
And we just have a strategic plan that started in the current year. But prior to that, most of these things we are contained in that document, and we continue to move in that direction to the extent that today we are following the footsteps of revenue administrations that believe that only reforms can take us to the next level. You could see all these digital tools that we have introduced. The Gambia is not different. The tax landscape is not different from what you find in many of these African countries. So maybe let me just take Rwanda as a case in point.
Sure.
So what you realize in most of these economies, there is a lot of cash in circulation. So when you have a lot of cash in circulation and you have a poor record-keeping culture, there is no way that the revenue administration can maximize the mobilization, because it will not be in full control. But where you have these digital tools deployed, even if the record-keeping culture is poor, you will be able to have all the records that you need to collect the right amount of tax.
Absolutely.
So that the government will be in a position to continually improve its public finances, and by extension, it will be able to also respond to the developmental challenges of the country. So that is the direction we are going, and that is why we are also doing a lot of sensitization and change management around this, including this program that we are currently having. And we cannot also pass without mentioning the contribution of stakeholders, because for all these reforms, there are stakeholders. And if the stakeholders, we are not able to get their buy-in, it becomes a problem.
Sure.
And also the contribution of the staff. Now going to your question, in particular, looking at the contribution of the domestic tax revenues, I also want to give a background to this. If you look at our plan, the intention is definitely to have the domestic tax revenues take over, because a lot of the liberalization efforts that are happening either at the level of ECOWAS, at the level of the African Union, or beyond, would require that we have to give up a lot of customs revenues. If you look at the ETLS, the ECOWAS trade, liberalization scheme, and other protocols that are in place, they will require that we have to encourage international trade, but by giving up revenues. So a country like the Gambia, which is tax-based, most of the public finances are contributed from domestically mobilized revenues, not from oil, not from gold, not from diamond. In a situation like that, and we are liberalizing, we have to strengthen our capacity to shift the pressure to the domestic taxes. And that is the direction that the leadership of the Revenue Authority is taking now, to ensure that each steps that we take towards liberalization in international trade, we cover the gap through domestic tax revenues. So now I will just go to the table that summarizes our year-to-date performance, just to give you an indication of the contributions. Now, if you look at our annual target, it's about 23 billion, 22.986 22.99 billion. That is basically about 23 billion.
That's 23.
So out of that 23 billion, currently, we are expecting the international trade revenues to contribute 12.3 billion, and then the domestic taxes to contribute about 10.7 billion. So you will see that still now, in terms of proportionate size, the contribution of the international trade revenues are more, but you could see that we are closing the gap.
Sure.
We are closing the gap, and that is why the CG talked about ITAS and other things, because we feel that to close this gap, we need to deploy technological solutions. To the extent that we'll be able to achieve this objective that we have set for ourselves over time. Now, as at end July, the domestic tax revenues contributed, about 7.2 billion. But the target which was set as at end July was 6.6 billion. So you could see that, the department exceeded its target by 8%, contributing an additional 543 million to the revenues of the Gambia Revenue Authority. So this is by way of contribution, in terms of what is coming from the domestic tax.
And this revenue was realized mainly from, what streams?
Yes. For our main tax handles are basically the corporation tax, and then you go to the VAT, personal income. The personal income tax is just like you bring corporation down to an individual. So any business that is registered in the name of a person, let's say me operating a shop, and then the registration comes in my name, that is personal. But we are now, you have a company incorporated, but at the end of the day, it's all about taxing their business income. You either tax it at the level of an individual, or you tax it at the level of a corporation or a partnership, and it goes like that. Okay. So most of them are coming from these ones: personal tax, corporation tax, value-added tax, and also, capital gains tax, the disposal of capital assets. But in terms of contributions, the telecoms, they sit comfortably in our revenue contributions. So that is why it is very important that we deploy solutions there, so that we are able to not collect more than what the law dictates we should collect, but to collect the fair amount of tax based on the business activities that they are conducting.
What if you were to collect more than the law dictates, you should collect? I mean, government wouldn't reprimand you, would it?
No, Peter, government would not reprimand us. But, one of the fundamental tenets of every tax law is fairness. You would find it in every tax policy and law. You have to, apply the law and limit yourself to what the laws are saying you should do in terms of collection. Remember, like my boss said this, that we are an administration. The policies we don't make. The policies that are translated into law, it goes to the National Assembly, they approve. So for us, the laws are just a working tool. So whatever we are collecting, we will always endeavor to make sure that we correct what is fair and what is supposed to be the exact contribution of the taxpayer. And that is why we went further to develop a taxpayer charter. And this document will talk about the rights and obligations of the taxpayers. To the extent that they are not at our mercy, they can challenge our decisions. It doesn't mean that everything begins and ends at the level of the revenue officers. No, they can challenge. And that is why you have different layers of challenge. They can challenge at this level, the Commissioner General, they can go to the tribunal, they can go to the courts, just to ensure that we collect, but they also would enjoy their rights where they feel that we have been a bit excessive.
Yes. And in terms of broadening the tax base,
yes,
right, the revenue base, yes, how much room is there for you to expand, yes, in income tax?
There is greater generation room. There is even greater room than what you would find in international trade. Oh, really? And that is why the boss is telling you that we have done so much of digitalization in international. If you look at everything that he has enumerated here, most of it is targeting, international trade in terms of majority. The ones that he mentioned about DTAX, they are in the pipeline or at the early stage of implementation. So they have not started bearing fruit like the way we have seen them. You see, he quoted figures that, the petroleum, our deployment contributed this, tax stamps. We want to replicate the same thing in the domestic tax environment. So for me, I still believe we are contributing a lot, but there are a lot of virgin areas that, in terms of potentials, that we can get to. Even the capital gains tax. You know how some of these things happen. We may not be getting the correct, declaration in terms of how much is paid to the seller of the property. So we are at the mercy, of, the players, in this kind of transaction.
But once digitization
so now,
is fully implemented.
Yes, now the telcos, he also have informed you about the VAT. Now, look at how VAT works. Let's use a supermarket as an example. You enter a supermarket, you buy. Today, most of them are issuing receipts. Most of them. When you walk out, maybe do a test. You will see in the receipt, they would show you how much VAT they have collected. You have contributed. So, and you multiply that by the daily transactions that happen. You multiply that by a week, by a month, by a year, depending on the customer base, of that particular trader. That's a lot of money.
So the principle of VAT is...
No, let me just come. Yeah. How so are we that the amounts that these customers have surrendered at the time they were paying, the trader only took what belongs to them and they remitted what belonged to GRA? Because on paper it's shown that this belongs to GRA.
That's what I was going to clarify. That in principle, VAT is consumption tax.
Yes.
I mean, I come in and government says, well, to buy this bottle of water, I mean, this is what the water costs, but you have to pay me for the services I offer in health, in education, blah, blah, blah. $1.
Yes.
So I paid that $1 on top of the amount, and the supermarket is supposed to send that $1 to GRA.
But the irony here, Peter, is the money is passing through a particular trader. It's not channeled directly to GRA. It's not like, at the point of sale, a split is done. No. The person would just do normal trading, and all this money is part of the business trading activities.
And you suspect that not all VAT money is paid in?
So the only thing we can do is to do audits. But you cannot audit the entire country in one go. You can audit and then send the right signals that at some point, some of these things will catch up with you. And we have done that in many, sectors where those audits have generated significant amount of, part of this collection we are reporting here, the audits have generated significant amount of money. We have gone to the banks, we have gone to other important players in the economy, where we thought there is nothing we can collect because their governance and everything is in place, but we realized that there are rooms. So to come back to your question, there is a lot of room for improvement in the domestic tax environment, and now the shift in terms of priority is shifting away from international trade to domestic tax in terms of bringing in technological, solutions to assist in our collections.
Interesting. All right.
Peter, maybe before your next questions, if I may just add to what DCG has said in terms of domestic tax revenue mobilization.
Sure.
You see, it's good that we are collecting revenue from international trade, but we have done a lot of reforms towards international trade. If you look at the 10 or 11 reforms that we are engaged on, maybe 3/4 is all on international trade. And that is what is helping that side for the revenue. Even the Asikuda wall alone has done a lot of changes, not to talk of the others. So we have a lot of other areas that we are trying to digitalize, and we believe that once those digitalizations have started operation, we will see a lot of changes in terms of our domestic revenue. You take off, for example, the iTax.
Yes.
iTax will be a platform that will be in place like the Asikuda wall. You, as a business company, individual, you have to interact with the system. But we will have access to everything that you do. So the question of this manual way of filing will be a thing of the past, will no longer be there. And iTax is going to bring a lot of efficiency in this system because it is a web-based system. It can also interface with the Asikuda wall, where the data of the importers can easily be exchanged of the sales people that are doing business on the ground. So once we get the iTax up and running, it will make a big difference in terms of our revenue collection with domestic taxes. We believe that iTax is one area that needs to come on board, no matter what it has to, because it's a web-based. It can interface with all the systems that we have. But the current system we have there, called GamTaxNet, that's the platform that we are using to do the domestic tax collection. Is kind of an analog system. So we really want to upgrade that to migrate to the iTax, which is very key to us. And we are working very hard towards it. But also, another important thing about domestic taxes revenue is the tax audit. Most of the business, if not all of the systems that we have in the country, in terms of both the customs revenue collection and domestic tax, we rely on self-declaration. You declare what you have, and we look at it. Let's start with customs. You brought a container of goods. It could be electronic, it could be furniture, we are not there when we were buying this. We rely on you to engage your clearing and forwarding agents. Do your declaration based on authentic papers and submit it to GRA on your own. If these documents that you submit are authentic and they are all good, nobody will stop you and you will not see anybody. You can do your declaration, do your assessment, take your papers to the bank and pay. You go to the port, you collect your good, go through scanning, you go. So it's like self-declaration. You self-declare what you have. And it's a similar process that we have under the domestic tax. Under the domestic tax, you are the one who does your own filing. And then us, we will just look at it. At a point, we said, okay, bring the money. Because whoever, in taxation, whoever brings the money to pay readily, you take that. And then the other processes follow. Okay. This is what we do. Even if you know what you are paying or what you are giving us is under declaration. But we will take that first, put it into our account, and then after, then the bigger thing will come. That's what is tax audit.
You never refuse money?
We never refuse money. We never refuse money.
Okay.
We never. And then, just a minute, I wanted to say that we are engaged. Currently, we have about 12 banks, if my figures are correct. The tax audits have gone to each of these banks, auditing them comprehensively for a period of time. Okay. And we have realized a lot of revenue in that.
Oh, very good.
And the same tax audit now are going to the construction companies. We have a lot of construction companies in the country.
True.
Now, we've realized that they're not only relying on what they submit as declaration, but we also go after them. Since the law has given us that power, we can even leave you to do up to 6 years and then come back and ask you all the filings that you have done. Oh, wow. And if we have detected any different, you are not only paying the difference, but you also face with penalty and interest.
Okay. All right, let's bring in DCG.
Yes, I just wanted to add one thing. Maybe our listeners would think, would start asking, what is it there for us? All these deployments they are doing in terms of technological solutions. I think I need to bring that. So this is not like a one-way traffic. We are only doing it to
get money
to propagate government's interest
at
the expense. Yes, there is a lot in there for them. So when changes come or reforms, usually they are met with skepticism and fear.
Sure.
But I want to say that the experience we have seen in other jurisdictions, once you deploy this, there is more efficiency. There is also higher service quality. For example, today, if you want to file a return, let's say in the domestic tax environment, okay, now on our website, you can go and download a form, fill. But you must do the trek. Either you drive or you get to the office and submit it.
Sure.
There is no other way. Now, if you have these deployments, what will happen? No need, so the cost of compliance is going to be reduced drastically. You don't need to drive to go there. You don't need to burn your energy to get to the offices. Everything, all you need, access to a system, and then you are able to file your return. You are able to pay. You are able to get your receipt. You are able to apply and get a TIN issued. So none of these things which today require that you will visit an office. So which means that there will come a time when we would only interfere, deal with computers. You don't see human beings. You don't see taxpayers. That is the kind of environment we want to build. And DCG said there will be transparency, bad vices like corruption, everything that would make a tax administration decent. That's the direction we are moving into. So there is a lot that is there for the taxpayers in terms of reducing their cost of compliance and also bringing a lot of convenience, in the manner in which, they do business with GRA. So that is only more the reason why we believe that, we should get all the support from the general public so that we take Gambia to the next level. Sure. Because tax administration is not done in the manner in which it used to be done traditionally. Everything somebody come in, everything you have to talk to an officer. We want to take that completely out of...
And only interface with computers.
Exactly, you only deal with computers.
Yeah,
yes.
Maybe just to add to what DCG has said is the reforms are mutual benefits. The government through GRA benefits, but also the businesses benefit.
Win-win.
I give a good one example. When we brought in the tax stamp, the people, the factory owners, and some of the importers, we are trying to make it impossible that this cannot happen in the Gambia, or knowing that this system is going to benefit them. Today, we have a bigger market of all the products of taxable, excisable items. They are now thanking us. But beginning, it was a fight.
Yes, of course.
Because they said, no, they cannot, this cannot happen in this country.
I remember. Yes.
So these reforms that we are engaged on, if you look at it in real terms, they are happening in other countries. In most of the developed world, we call them Americas, the Europe, Asia, to some extent, they are all using these technologies. And that is why they are having the revenue to develop their countries. We have got to a point, Peter, where government cannot rely on loans and grants. We have money in the country, in this country. We can work hard, just like we are doing currently, to even increase these 2.5 billion that we are collecting monthly to over 3 billion a month.
Oh, wow.
I believe in that, and we are working towards that. With the support of the government, I will come here one day and tell you, Peter, we've collected in this particular month over $3 billion. It is not just an ordinary dream. It is a dream that we are working on. And inshallah, we will achieve it. With all these reforms, by the time we complete this in a couple of months' time, we will come here and tell you that a particular month. Peter, a few years ago, if anybody tells you that Gambia can collect tax revenue of 1 billion, you will not believe it.
Yeah. Not at all.
Not at all. Nobody will believe in us.
Nobody would.
But at GRA, we believe in changes in terms of digitalization. And we believe in developing the capacities of our staffs so that they can work with those changes that we are having in place. I think recently you have seen some international engagements we have.
Okay. Just let's remind people that yes, recently we saw that Sierra Leone were here.
Yeah, before Sierra Leone, sometimes back last year, Nigeria was here on study tour to see a small Gambia, how we are able to digitalize our tax administration to a point that what we are doing, collection, they have to come and spend 1 week here and study what we are doing.
Nigeria,
of
coming to the Gambia.
Coming to the small Gambia. From Nigeria now, even the Senegalese are coming. The former DG was here, the current DG came in for a meeting. After the meeting, we have to take him through everything that we are doing as far as the digitalization is concerned. And they are understanding. Some of them, they will deploy them into them. Of recent, last week, Sierra Leone was here. And they look at what we are doing, so satisfied that they're now requesting a help from the Gambia to send some of my staffs there to help them, to do certain works that are lacking over there. During our time, when we are bringing some of these deployment systems, we didn't have anywhere in West Africa. We have to travel to East Africa. We went to Rwanda, to understudy Asekuda Plus Plus. We went to Tanzania to study again Asekuda Wall. We went to Zambia to look at some of their digital transformation. We went to Uganda to see some of these. Each of these reforms you see, they are existing in best practicing tax administrations in East and other parts of Africa. So we are bringing those one. Now, the good news is Gambia will also be a digital web within West Africa for other countries to come here and study what we are doing and even go in there to help them how to run their systems. So we are very proud. A small Gambia should be proud of itself in terms of the transformation. But again, remember I said something, political will. We are not doing this alone because we cannot do it. These changes are very there in terms of what they deprive others to have in terms of leakages and accountability and transparency. So with the help of the government, we are able to get all this, go through all these things. And our dream is for Gambia to become another Rwanda in West Africa.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I always ask this question. People listening, you know, I mean, usually tend to blame GRA for taxes. They say, tax, you know, the taxes are too high. GRA should reduce taxes.
Okay.
Is GRA the one that sets, you know,
This is a very, very important question, Peter. In terms of government, people have to understand that government is division of labor. In terms of what one institution do and what the other institutions do. At the level of GRA, we are basically operational institution. The tax rates that we are applying, it is not from GRA. This is from the government through Ministry of Finance. And all of them are approved by the parliament. No tax rate will be applied without going through parliament. And believe it or not, we've not been increasing this rate for the longest time. Tax rates have not been going up. Rather, we are reducing them over the years. We are reducing them. Remember the case of rice. We zeroized them. They used to pay tax before this regime. But we've taken the tax out of it so that both the duty and VAT become zero. But again, just to answer that particular question, GRA does not have power to increase any tax rate. And for government, that is not the direction. The sense of direction for government and GRA is to broaden the tax base and bring more digitalization into the system and build the capacity of the staffs so that revenue can grow. And that is what we have seen over the period.
Okay. All right. Okay. Your DCG wants
to because,
add to that, yes?
Yeah, because this is a very important one. And most of the time, you hear this, particularly in the media, that we are taxing heavily. Like the DCG has said, in fact, it has been in reverse order. The corporation tax rate came down from 35% to 27%. The personal income tax rate, including what hits salaries, came down from a maximum of 35% to 25%. If you look at the most recent ones, the taxes on the rental, they have come down. The withholding taxes, we have repackaged them to the extent that they have a lesser effect. A lesser effect because in the past, you know, they would go, for example, 10%. But there are those that, for example, are involved in these donor-funded projects and those kind of things. We have reduced them. So a whole lot of things have come down because we are of the belief that, you know, we need to encourage voluntary compliance. And you cannot do that by being very heavy-handed, you know, in your tax rate. So that's the direction we are moving. And some of these technological solutions we are doing is to bring all these areas which are currently potentials, bring them to the base. It gives government the fiscal space to be able to tolerate tax reductions further. But the same public that is the outcry is coming from, they are part of the solution because the more compliance there is, the more the government has the leverage to be able to reduce these rates.
Fantastic. Well said.